Доброго вечора, мы из Украины.
Здравствуйте, мальчики и девочки, в эфире программа Ushanka Show. Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back to Ushanka Show, stories about life in the Soviet Union. So today I will try to compare my housing situation back in the Soviet Union with my housing situation here in the United States of America. And by the way, if you're new to my channel and wondering who the heck is this guy with such a cute accent, my name is Sergey, and back in 1971, I was born in the USSR.
All your videos are deception and slander. Your videos are bullshit. Try to learn economy before telling something and read Marx.
So there was another interesting comment under my video about Soviet mortgage, and we're gonna look at it today. Comrade Slikhar Pen wrote, "Yes, but hey, that is probably the reason why the system collapsed." So he's talking about socialist system. That society was made for good people, and it's obvious that new generation like yours did not actually understand, even with such a strong indoctrination, how to live and take care of each other. So this is actually a reply to my comment that socialist system is an ideal system that works only with ideal people, and since the Soviet people weren't really ideal, that's why that system collapsed. Why would you need two apartments if you have already one? To make a profit while someone else do not have where else to live? It is a very sad and egoistic way to think. Definitely capitalist, and I'm happy you moved to the United States. And I can reply already to this reference that it's very egoistic capitalist way of thinking, because it was very hard to be a good socialist in a socialist world, and it's really easy to be a socialist in a capitalist world. And you can check out my video, I'll post the links below in the comment section. But just a quick answer about making a profit on a house in the Soviet Union. No, you couldn't really make a profit on a second apartment if you have one. I mean, you can kind of rent it, but it'll be illegal. In the Soviet Union, we didn't own apartments, so you couldn't sell it. So it was not really about making a profit. It's about your kids that they will need room later on. And I explained in that video about being a good socialist. Okay, so back to the comment. Did you manage to buy yourself apartment in the USA? Tell us how you live there, please. I was born in Yugoslavia, and we also got free apartments. Once again, they weren't free. I bet you also guys had to pay rent. So it was the same situation. Now I live in Denmark and I pay 1,800 euro for the rent. Okay, so as requested, today I'm gonna tell you about my housing situation here in Michigan, United States of America. And once again, if you're new to my channel, just a quick reminder, I came to America for the very first time back in 1995. I work in a summer camp here in Michigan as a photography specialist. And then in the fall of the same year, I worked at the local farm picking apples and peaches. And if you're interested in that story, I already have a book called American Diaries 1995. It's available on Sputnikov.com or Amazon. So this is my very first home in America, this little tiny A-frame. Of course, it didn't belong to me and I didn't have to pay rent. So that was your free housing in America. So summer camp provided with housing and food for people who work there. So from the middle of June till the middle of July, I lived in this tiny A-frame that I shared with another guy. He came from Tanzania, Africa. His name was Israel, and he was our arts and crafts specialist. So you may guess that A-frame provided quite basic living conditions, just wooden floor, no air conditioning, and bathrooms and showers were in nearby building. Back in 1995, my salary back in Ukraine was about $20 a month as a junior engineer of electronics. So of course, when I discovered in America they pay $5 an hour, I was desperately looking for any jobs I can do after camp was over, and I was lucky. I found work in nearby farm, and that's where I moved after I was done with camp in the middle of August of 1995. So the farmer was kind enough to let us live right at the farm. So I technically was kind of homeless because I ended up living in the back of the market. So they had a retail operation where we were selling their fruits, and the back room had a loft where we set up our mattresses. There was me and another guy from Camp Andre, and that's where I worked pretty much till the end of October. Several years ago, I went back to that farm and I took several pictures. So this is my loft where I had the mattress set up, and of course it's unheated, so it was extremely cold at night in the fall. So the difference between outside and indoors were maybe 5 degrees, and I lived there until the end of October. So that was a freezing night. And I said I described it a lot in my book, American Diaries 1995. And of course, market had no showers, so there were two options. I could go and visit Mexican workers who had lived in a trailer nearby, but their shower was kind of nasty. Otherwise, I'll just get some hot water out of sink on the back of the market, and then when it gets dark, I'll go outside and just stand on the grass and pour over my head a cup with hot water and soap myself up and then wash it. So that was I call it Amish shower. So that was my introduction to the housing situation here in America. And I came back again in 1996, did the same deal, camp in the summer, farm in the fall. Then I came back again in 1997, same thing again. Came back again in 1998, same thing again. And then I met my future wife on the blind date in November of 1999. And then we got married in May of 2000. So we stayed for a little bit with my in-laws, and then we rented a house here in Bering Springs, Michigan. Back in 1999, you could find a place for about $400 to $600. We found, I think it was like 400 or something, somewhere there. And for a person who was making $7.50 an hour, still it was quite a bit of money. And a small correction. So I met my wife in 1998 on November, and we got married in May of 1999. And we lived in that rental house for about a year, and then my wife got pregnant and we started looking for our own place. But at that time I quit working on the farm, first of all because it was low pay and it's just a seasonal work. There's nothing really to do there in the winter and early spring. And I began working for my in-laws who used to own a furniture and flooring store, once again here in Bering Springs. And my pay was a little bit better. So I had more money, and as I said, we started looking for a home to buy. It was actually my father-in-law, Gary, who found this home. It was kind of interesting situation. So old couple passed away, and their son came all the way from Florida to just kind of fix up the house and sell it. It was in pretty poor shape. Those guys, usually like little old people, they don't take care of home. And my father-in-law came to measure for new carpet and started talking to a guy, and guy told him he just wanted to get rid of this house. So they made a deal, and they agreed for $45,000 and as is condition, no repairs. The guy was just happy to get rid of home. So we ended up buying our first home for $45,000. Back in 2000, I just started building my credit history, so there was no way I could get actually a mortgage from the bank. And my wife's credit history was, let's put it that way, it was sad. So my father-in-law did the down payment, kind of let us have some money to give a guy a down payment. And then we agreed on a land contract. So for 5 years, I would be paying this owner of the home $600 a month, and then in 5 years I should get a mortgage and pay off him a home and then just deal with the bank. So that was the deal. So it worked out for us, but interest rate was I think like 6%. And as I mentioned earlier, this house was in really poor shape. It needed new roof, new siding, everything new inside. So we basically gutted it out and built like brand new home from inside, so from studs out, and did addition. So as a result, we actually spent another $60,000, which I didn't have, and I was really horrified. So the total cost of that home was about $105,000 when we actually made it livable. But of course, at that time I was making like $9 an hour. So if you make a little amount of per hour, I just figured out I need to work a lot of hours. So I worked a lot, pretty much 6 days a week. And then if there'd be some moving jobs that my father-in-law did too, I was helping with that. So I was keeping up, I was afloat, but it was tough. As I mentioned, I think in 3 years, my credit history was good enough to apply for the mortgage. We paid off the owner, and I just had a regular mortgage. with lower interest rate, so that was good. And then I tried to pay extra every month so I can pay off this home as quick as possible. And so we lived in that house basically for 10 years. In 2008, I managed to get a job at the local power plant. And just a reminder, back home in Ukraine, I got a degree of electrical engineer. So fortunately, I was able to utilize my education. So this job was way better pay, and it was a union job. So our financial situation improved quite a bit. And at that time, we already have a second kid with my wife, and she had 2 kids from previous marriage. So we had a total of 4 kids, 2 of us, and 3 bedrooms. So this house kind of became too small. I mean, we live in America. It was about probably, 2,000 square feet total. So with my additional income, I was like, okay, we can start looking for a little bit bigger house, because I wanted every kid to have their own bedroom. Once again, welcome to the United States. So it was quite a challenge to find a 5-bedroom home in our price range, because usually if you look for a 5-bedroom home in Southwest Michigan, there'll be homes, from $600,000 and up. So that was a challenge. My bank told me, like, you need to find something at $300,000 or less. So we finally, there were 2 options with 5-bedroom homes, and we liked the one that my wife actually discovered. They were asking like $269, and we're talking 2010. So this is when the market kind of cratered for real estate. We offered $245, and sellers agreed. So we moved to this brick ranch, 5-bedroom brick ranch in 2010. So as I mentioned, 2010 was a good time to buy homes, but wasn't a good time to sell a house. So when we were thinking what to do with our old house, selling was not a good idea, because the price was like $85,000. That was the max you could get at that point. So I told my wife, listen, I don't want to lose money. Although, I was paying ahead of its time my mortgage, so I would be still ahead. But I was like, I don't want to sell this house too cheap. So we decided we're going to rent it out. So for next pretty much 10 years, we've been renting our old house while living in the new house. I managed to get rent high enough to cover my mortgage and have additional like $150 on the top of it, but I wasn't really making any profit, because usually always there's some kind of repairs, right? If you own home, especially if you have a rental, because people don't really take care of house. So renters were helping to pay off my mortgage, but it was really no income. As long as there'll be some funds built up, fridge will quit or something else will need to be fixed. Our first renters were really good. The guy was a builder, so basically, he will fix anything free of charge as long as I pay for materials. Our second renters were really bad, and they literally like destroyed the house by 2020. And then they told us they will be interested to buy our house, so they kind of destroyed it. And then it's like, well, we would like to buy it on land contract. So we started having this kind of negotiation about price. I started talking about lawyers, because now I'm getting this land contract dealio. And so they kind of would drag our feet on that. And then suddenly we received a letter from the local power company that was interested to buy our house. They wanted to expand their switch yard, and it was like perfect location for them. So they were asking if we were interested to sell our old house, our rental, and how much we wanted for it. So renter wanted to pay $140,000 on land contract. Power company offered $160,000. And of course, it's a big company, so just, cash. We thought about it, and we're like, okay, if you give us $175,000, because it's a rental, we have to pay capital gains. We'll sell you the home, and they agreed. So I ended up selling house for $175,000, paid capital gains, paid off the mortgage, and I had $100,000 left, which I just took and paid off my new home, which I also was paying, I was paying about $700 extra every month. So basically about 2 years now, I live mortgage free. So I returned myself back to this Soviet Union situation where I don't have rent or mortgage payment. I just pay tax on property, electricity and stuff like that. But otherwise, I don't have rent or I don't have a mortgage payment. So comparing to my parents that purchased 750 square feet, 3-room apartment, and we had to pay 50 rubles per month as a mortgage payment. The apartment, I think, was like 15,000 rubles. Right now I live in a house which is about 2,700 square feet, so 4 times bigger, and I pay about $375 a month. That's what my property taxes come to. And then, of course, electric bill, stuff like that. So I'm pretty much back to this even better than free Soviet housing situation here in Michigan. But of course, there were a lot of sacrifices. I had to be extremely tight with money, and my American wife wasn't really happy about it, of course. There were quite a few sacrifices. We didn't travel a lot. We didn't do a lot of things, because I tried to stay away from debt and pay off house as quick as possible. So looking back, if the Soviet Union would be still a thing, and of course, if Soviet Union still existed, no way I would be able to move and come to America. But no way I would have anything like I have here in Michigan, nice large home. It's not a castle, nothing fancy, but it has 2-car garage, and then I have 2 cars. Something like that was just unimaginable back in the Soviet days. I mean, my mom put me on the waiting list to buy a car. It was 9 years to buy a Lada if I would save enough money, 9,000 rubles. But it's way better here for me in America. But I work extremely hard. I mean, I put a lot of hours everywhere. I take all the overtime I can, but it is what it is. I'm not a genius that could make money online or something like that, but I just know if I work a lot of hours, I can make decent money. And then I'm being pretty tight. We don't have any credit card debt. We don't overspend. I drive small cars. I don't drive huge pickup trucks. So that helped me to be financially stable and pay off my house pretty much starting from zero back in 2000, and now having house paid off, cars paid off, and no debt basically in 20-some years. But I want to stress out one more time, I never ever worked that hard in my life back in the Soviet Union as I worked here. But also I was never compensated that good for my hard work in Ukraine as I was here. So I think it's a fair deal. I work hard and I paid well, and my family is comfortable and we don't have debt. So this is answer to your question about my current housing situation in the United States and how it worked out for me. So I hope you like this video. Don't forget to like it and share with your friends. We'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye.
Потому что если дороги будут, то по ним неприятель проедет и прямо в сердце России попадет.
Я с ними согласен абсолютно.